Kevin was Pam's fiancé.
Oh! Oh! Oh!
Jinxie, no!
Oh!
Jinxie, no!
The wish of wanting Kaylee back is obviously that's not possible. So my only other wish would be for him to hurry up and take his last breath. And just, we could be done. Him being dead would be great.
People just dodging the bullets, just saying, we didn't know. He was a normal person. No, you did know. There was things there. There was girls making complaints all around this individual over and over, and you just refused to listen to them. You just refused to do something when they were crying out for help. And it's happening all the way to today. We're going to lose tens of thousands of dollars because the prosecutor refused to help us.
And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Hey guys, welcome back to The Unfiltered. We're going to be talking about the Idahofour case and this lawsuit. We really do need to talk about it. So the article says that the families of the victims have filed a claim giving notice that they intend to claim $100 million each against Washington State University. And this is for the emotional suffering. Apparently this money they are claiming for is going to make up for the loss of their children. Now the article says that this claim is for the alleged wrongful employment and housing of Brian Kohberger, basically meaning that the university brought him from Pennsylvania to Washington State University and into the Pullman community, that they paid and housed him. Well, I don't know which other way they would do it. I mean, it's not normal to have a teaching assistant living on the streets. But anyway, the family is saying that this employment made it possible for Brian Kohberger to be close to the victims. So, according to this piece in the Medium, almost immediately after being employed, Brian Kohberger began making students, faculty, and staff members extremely uncomfortable. It doesn't stop there. The behavior they allege includes threatening, predatory acts, SA stalking. So here we go again with this whole stalking. So they claim that there were more than a dozen complaints that were made against Brian Kohberger, and that because of these complaints, the university, well, they should have foreseen that this behavior might have led to something that was very dangerous. Now, I don't know, what is this university, like the Xavier School for Gifted Kids? Why not go in, throw every Marvel character, including Wade fucking Wilson? I mean, if this turns into a full lawsuit, they are going to have to prove that Washington State University's negligence in hiring and supervising and responding to Brian's behavior was not appropriate. But you have to remember that Brian was working there, and he was also referred by Dr. Catherine Ramsland. I don't really want to go off topic, but I mean, there are many professors and students that have had some kind of inappropriate relationship, and it just seems to me like nobody has ever heard of anything like this happening before, when we know that it does happen, and it happens quite a lot. But for some reason, they are trying to make as if Brian was the one who was acting inappropriately. So what if he was? It really doesn't relate to the crime that happened with those 4 students. But also, there was a criminology student, her name was Emily, and she told Insider that she thought that Brian Kohberger was very difficult to work with, and this is while he was her teaching assistant. She said that he appeared to have become uninterested in grading assignments for these students, and honestly, I don't blame him. there was also this incident where Brian followed a student to her car. Now, I want to get into that because this could have happened for numerous reasons. Let's say the student was parked near Brian's car and she walked and he happened to go to his car. Could that be interpreted as following her? Maybe she dropped something. Maybe she had something hanging out of the back of her skirt. I would like to see how this is investigated because I don't have any official report of that. I have looked for it. But was he really following her to her car? Because that seems to be the only incident. And like I say, we don't know what the reason was. Maybe he was not following her at all. To be very honest, if somebody followed me to my car, then I would be very creeped out. But this is something that appears to have happened in the middle of the day. So she was unharmed. Basically, she talked about it. And I also feel if something bad had happened, if he had SA'd her or anything like that, then there would be grounds to bring this up. But I just don't see the relevance of saying that he followed her to her car. Maybe he was trying to help her. We don't know. So yes, it's very weird how the media has always said that this always happened with female students. The point I'm making is that I do agree that Brian was very strict. I don't think people really get it or understand that he had to meet a certain criteria when he was grading papers. But to them, they thought he was being a little bit weird.
He was pretty strict as far as grading goes. When he came into class, he was very, not super mentally present. He would stand up at the front, look at the ground. He had a lot of like boilerplate responses he would give people rather than, maybe something he had thought up on the spot. It seemed like he would be, he'd come in knowing what he was going to say to like most interactions. And then when he would grade your papers, he would be grading you on what he ended up calling like a higher standard. But what it really felt like to us was he was grading us like he would have graded himself as a PhD student. And so that was just kind of like, we were all annoyed by him. And so I knew his name, I knew like, oh, T.A. Bryan, like he sucks at this. Like he's grading us too harshly. And that was like an annoyance. But obviously beyond that, we just thought he was a little weird and kind of, a bad grader.
And of course, a bad grader. That's all that is basically said about him. So if you listen to the video and you listen to what this guy is saying, I mean, it is true that Brian would have had to be very harsh, especially if these students want to go out there one day and be good at their job. Then they would have to attain a certain standard. So on the 2nd of November, Brian met with faculty at Washington State University. And this was including Professor Snyder, who met with that little group of students. And this was to discuss this formal improvement plan. So basically the plan was to address Brian's harsh grading, and they came up with an improvement plan to establish all these weekly goals. They even had a supervisor to ensure that there was progress throughout the term. Now, I did discuss this in a previous video. So by the 7th of December, they all met and they acknowledged that there had been a huge improvement. And I think Brian was basically giving these students very good grades for doing very little work at that point. This is when that student said that Brian followed her to her car. And I think this was the incident that got him fired from his role as a teaching assistant. So on the 19th of December, he was terminated. This was when he already left to go home to Pennsylvania for the winter break. This whole intent to file a lawsuit against Washington State University is very tacky in my opinion. I mean, it almost feels like these children have a price. And to me, it feels almost like dirty money. I mean, why are these people not suing Dylan and Bethany for not calling 911? I really can't get past that point. why are they not suing Scott Green too? Because I mean, he wrote a book under the gag order. Why are they not suing anyone that wrote books like Bloom or Patterson or the creators of One Night in Idaho? Why are they not taking any legal action against Hunter or Emily for lying, or any of the others? Why are they not suing the Moscow Police Department for basically screwing up the entire investigation with all these officers going in and out there without securing the crime scene? I could go on and on, for letting Hunter be on the crime scene. Why are they not suing Bill Thompson? I mean, they didn't want this plea deal to go through, so why not sue him? And those are things that I wonder about, because it feels like they are just milking this case dry now. So what about the over $150,000 that was raised from all these GoFundMe accounts that was supposed to cover the expenses for the trial? Things like accommodation, travel, all those kinds of things. And remember that this trial didn't happen. There are quite a lot of people that I've seen that have donated to them, and they did return some of the money, but certainly not all of it. I've also heard that these people are somewhat annoyed about all of this. So if you watched this recent ruling that Judge Hepler made, saying that Brian has to pay for the urns for the victims, this is just weird. I mean, why would these people want anything from Brian if they truly believe that he is guilty of ending the lives of their children? So I just wonder if this kind of thing happens with all prisoners. I mean, not only in Idaho, but I don't think it does. It just seems like it's happening in this case. And I mean, these guys keep adding on more and more and more money that they want. So where is this going to end? Everybody's saying that, well, Brian could make money from things like future interviews, book deals. But the thing is, he's already paying restitution to the victims' family members. Now remember, his family sends him money. So 20% of that money goes to the victims' families. So is he not already paying if he was guilty by being in prison? Also, he's not allowed to make any profit or earn anything, but it just feels like his family is also suffering. I mean, let's say, for example, they send him money for basic necessities, which I believe that he is entitled to have. Maybe things like food items, soaps, making long distance phone calls. Well, then part of that money is already going to the victims' families. So I don't want to seem rude. I mean, I do feel sorry for them. They lost children. But I also feel sorry for Brian's family. This whole matter of restitution is just fucked up, in my opinion. It's like, let's reach for the deepest pocket we can find. I do believe this case is actually a good thing that they take Washington State University and sue them, because the university is suddenly going to start to see that their teaching assistant, Brian, is factually innocent. I mean, the question is, could this university even afford a lawsuit as huge as this one? So I personally hope that this brings a full investigation, because the question is, where is this going to end? And look, like I said before, I'm really not trying to be mean towards the families of the victims, but didn't Steve and other family members not say after sentencing that they are done with this case, that they didn't even want anything more to do with Brian Kohberger? They didn't even want to hear his name. In fact, online, people were referring to him by his inmate number. They were basically refusing to even mention his name. That was a big FU to him. So now you have all of this, and you guys tell me what you think. Am I being mean, or are they just taking the piss now? So thank you for watching. Please don't forget to leave a comment. I really appreciate all of you guys, and I will see you in the next video.